changes people. It's what causes things to happen in Cardcaptor Sakura. So, like, I guess really, like this is why the series is as good as it is in a lot of ways. It's because of how their relationship develops from beginning to end. I feel like there was a point I wanted to make in particular, and I'm blanking on what it was.
Did you write it down?
I don't think I did, because
Sakura's adorable. That's important. I don't think we've talked about it enough.
Oh, that's true, actually.
What about her Daijobu method?
Oh, Zettai
Daijobu method.
That literally everything's okay. Yeah, her invisible spell is everything will surely be okay, which is Zettai Daijobu. And she says it before going into her final battle and defeating Ariel for the final time, and all of this. Sakura is the main character, and one of the things that's great about the series is that she is so heavily empowered by everything that goes on around her. And so even though Xiaodong starts out as an unhelpful helper, I guess you could say, like, his emotional support for her becomes one of her pillars over the course of the story. There's like a really, you get like a really good example of it. There's a chapter where Tomoyo gets where the school's layout gets changed by Ariel. So whatever door you open, it now leads to a new place, and it doesn't lead to where it's supposed to. So you open the classroom door, and now you're in the music room. And Tomoyo gets stuck in one of those rooms, and they end up using the shadow card to save her. But Sakura's almost in tears because she's freaked out because her friend's
What happens is they're trying to run somewhere. The door closes behind them before Tomoyo can get there, and then when they open it up, it's to a different place, and Tomoyo's gone.
Exactly. So, Sakura's in tears, and Xiaodong's calm down, don't cry, we can solve this problem. Xiaodong's not the one that solves the problem. He doesn't even come up with a good, he doesn't make a suggestion, nothing. Sakura does it all on her own. She hears Tomoyo's voice, and it makes her think of and it makes her think of how to do it. She ends up using the shadow card in order to find her friend. But Xiaodong is Xiaodong starts out being an emotional problem for her, okay? Because he's showing up and being like, you're stupid, you're not even good at this. And then by the end of it, he's literally what enables her to calm down, stop, and think. And then eventually they get to collaboration, which you see when she transforms the Thundery card at the festival, which I'm not going to get into, but they work together on that one. Xiaodong uses his magic to help her use hers, and then of course the final judgment. In the anime, he stands with her the whole time, from the beginning. In the manga, I like it better in the manga actually because it continues to make Sakura the sole hero of the story. Sakura's last job is to transform the light and dark cards, which has to be done together. She doesn't have enough, and she has to do it in the face of oppressive magic being brought down by Ariel. So she has to use more power than Ariel has in his entirety in order to be able to transform the light and dark cards. So she ends up using both Yue and Kero's power. She's been told that everybody in Tomoeda, so everybody that she cares about, every friendship that she has, will end forever if she can't do this. And so the only person that's left standing, because the only other person in all of Tomoeda that has magic that she knows about at this time anyway, is Xiaodong. And so Xiaodong helps her with the very last of his magic, and then he also succumbs to the sleeping because he's out of magic. And he falls asleep in Sakura's arms. And that moment, I'm actually choking up. This is at that moment, Sakura gets, because she doesn't want anything to happen to anybody, but especially she doesn't want something to happen to Xiaodong, she's able to finish transforming the cards. It's everybody's belief in her that allows her to do it. Her invincible spell and Xiaodong's final help is what pushes her into that final moment. And so that's kind of when you're they're really meant for each other. Now, but the thing is that they don't start out that way. Xiaodong's not really meant for her at the beginning. Yukito is meant for her. At the beginning of the series, Yukito and Sakura would have made a really cute pairing. A little age difference, yeah, but it would have been cute,
Not the worst Clamp has ever done.
No, not the worst they've done in Cardcaptor Sakura.
Yeah, even just in Cardcaptor Sakura.
But the transformation of Xiaodong falling in love with Sakura and Sakura being who she is turns Xiaodong into the kind of person that is very good for her and is in fact so good for her that he becomes almost essential to her. And that's extremely sweet. So anyway, this was the most important part, and that's the main thing I really wanted to talk about. Anyway, so let's move on to what ended up spawning off that. This series did extremely well in Japan. Cardcaptor Sakura did, and eventually down the and Clamp loves crossovers. You don't understand. Like even before Tsubasa, you could see like signs of this. But then in 2007, I want to say. No, actually no, 2005. It was a little earlier than that. It might have been. God, no, was it earlier? Anyway, I think I was still in college. It must have been 2003. Lord.
I feel like 2003 sounds right to me.
Okay.
I remember it being late high school for me, so that would be about right for me.
Okay. I'm old, guys, by the way.
I'm also old.
So
I'm over here. Hi.
yay.
Let's have an old doll right now.
Let's not. Let's not have it.
30? Yeah!
Close enough.
Okay. Anyway, so Tsubasa was advertised, like in Japan, okay? My friend calls me and he's like, did you know that they're making a new Cardcaptor Sakura series and Shout-On's the main character? I was like, excuse me? And that was Tsubasa. That was how it was advertised in 2003 when there was literally 2 chapters out in Japan. So I was reading it from the beginning. This series betrayed the crap out of me. It's less like... What's interesting here is that you start with this image, okay? If you've never read Cardcaptor Sakura, you have no clue who they are. And you're like, oh, those 2 sad people. If you've read Cardcaptor Sakura, you're like, why is there the thing between them? This is terrible. Like, you don't even need to have any exposition. You already know. Like, this is bad. Sakura and Shout-On are separated, and it's not okay. And they kind of, like, built off of that in a lot of ways. Tsubasa has a lot of lazy storytelling in it, which is kind of unfortunate. I think what they were going for on the whole was probably really interesting, but I think the story got away from them a little bit. There's stuff. But anyway, basically, Cardcaptor Sakura, the love story of Sakura and Shout-On was told not just once, not just 3 times, 4 times. You can even say 5 times because there's more than one Sakura and Shout-On in Maritsuba.
And you can even count Cardcaptor Sakura, so that's like 6 times.
Ridiculous. Can you go back one? I don't know if you're moving.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, as you probably know, it turns out that there's clones.
Spoilers.
I'm sorry. I'm spoiling it for Tsubasa right now.
It's perfectly okay.
It's honestly better that you know now, so you don't get attached and then realize you weren't in love with the character you thought you were the whole time.
Oh.
Subasa's interesting because it does because they bait and switch of characters, which is fascinating life choices on their part.
They pulled a Hussy.
You get a little hope stuck in.
Actually, Hussy pulled a Clamp. So.
Yeah.
They did it first.
They did it first. The thing about Tsubasa is that it depended on your knowledge of Cardcaptor Sakura for you, because if you read it, they're cute, but there's not really, ultimately the shipping is not that strong because from the very beginning, Sakura is unable to fall in love with Shout-On. It's taken away from her at the end of the first chapter. Whoa! Okay, so it literally depends on the existence of Cardcaptor Sakura to have your central storyline going on, I guess. Your central tension is caused by Cardcaptor Sakura being something in your general consciousness. And then they kind of took the whole thing and turned it upside down because they were like, oh, we'll also just make them really angsty. So Sakura loses her Zettai Daijo spell. That's actually a plot point that happens in the story. The whole thing is just a story of woe. Are we out of time? No,
I mean, we've got 5 minutes, but I don't think anything else is in this room at the time.
I think this is it. This is the last panel in this room.
Yeah,
actually.
it is.
Anyway, I
You
mean,
can take all the time in the world.
I don't have that much more to say, so it's okay.
You can take all the time in the world.
I think it's interesting, as a storytelling point, I guess, because because it is its own story and it is really, really depressing. But I think that part of the reason why it's as shocking as it is because if you know Cardcaptor Sakura, you're like, Sakura's world's supposed to be saccharine. This is not saccharine. This is opposite. This is crap sack world. What the hell? And of course what happens with Shout-On is also awful. It's all stories of consequences and you could never get away from your past and all of this stuff. And at the end of the story, Tsubasa is still also a tale of redemption. Shout-On gets forgiven by the people that he affected the most, which is fine, Kurogane. It's gonna get crazy. You're gonna really, really confused. Clamp has said that they actually would have to reread the end of Tsubasa in order to be able to understand it. They've forgotten what they wrote.
Which is impressive because if you don't know about how Clamp works, Kawa-san, who is the writer for Clamp, writes her endings first and then goes back and starts the story. So for her to not remember the end of Tsubasa is really funny.
Yeah. So then the other thing that carries over from Cardcaptor Sakura, the major there's two other characters that you'll see, or there's more characters that you'll see. There's two other relationships that you'll see. One is the occasional resurfacing of Toya and Yukito. Toya and Yukito's story is kind of angsty in Cardcaptor Sakura, but they also get turned on their head in Tsubasa. And pretty much every time they appear, the two of them are not only happily in a relationship, but goofy-ass positions. Their first appearance is in the Hanshi world, which is the very first world that they go to, and they are both okonomiyaki chefs, and it's super precious and hilarious, and when Shaoran calls Toya king out of startlement, because he wasn't expecting to see the face of the person that he thinks is the king of his country, in an okonomiyaki shop in Hanshi, Yukito proceeds to tease him with it for the rest of forever. And that's very important to me.
Oh-sama.
Don't call me Osama. And then the other one is actually Tomoyo and Sakura. Tomoyo appears appears twice primarily in the series. One of them is as Princess Tomoyo, who's Kuragane's master, mistress, person that he protects, whatever. He has a lot of strong feelings about Tomoyo. Tomoyo has a lot of strong feelings about Mo's, surprise everybody, Sakura! It doesn't matter what incarnation you're talking about, and the thing about it is that she gives up things that protect her country in order to rescue Sakura in Tsubasa's storyline. And guess who gets never requited love? That being Tomoyo.
Every iteration of her does.
Yep.
It's just really hate to be in love with Sakura and have Sakura be in love with Shaoran. It's really a shame though, because again, it's like lesbian, it's a lesbian problem. That's the reason why it bothers me. It's but anyway, sorry, you sounded like you were going to say something. Never mind, not.
I was going to say something slightly unrelated, I think.
We can come back to it though.
I forget what I was going to say.
The
You
moment's
were
gone.
saying something about Tomoyo.
You're Yukito, it's okay.
More fun.
And that is a thing that unfortunately also happens is that, and then you also have the Pimple Princess World version of her who meets Sakura and immediately is deeply in love with her as well, just thinks she's the greatest. But on the plus side, Sakura is so much more bi in Tsubasa, so much more obviously so, I guess you could say. And she also blushes a lot at Tomoyo. It almost was a thing, and then it wasn't. Because even though she could never know about Shaoran, he still exists. Anyway, the conclusion is Horitsuba's cute, and you should all read it if you haven't. It's just little short stories about all of them in a magical school where nothing's wrong and everything's wonderful. And there's Shaoran and Sakura in multiple incarnations in that, and you should read it because it's cute. And in conclusion, Sakura and Shaoran is important, and so is all of Cardcaptor Sakura. So I hope this gave you more feelings about the series and made you want to reread it or something.
Yeah.
So
Definitely gonna read the manga now.
Yeah.
I hope it kind of gives there's a lot of depth in there, and so I hope it kind of makes you Sakura and Shaoran is a really good story. So
One of the things I wish that Tsubasa Chronicles in general, when they were doing it and they were still writing the series at that point, is I got excited about the crossover aspect. And I was like, are we going to see certain relationships actually have a conclusion in some way? Are we going to see Tomoyo and Sakura actually do anything? Are we going to ever see Yukito and Sakura? I was just curious to see if they would ever play with that because, like any manga or comic creators, the alternate universe pairings are fun. And just seeing if that could happen. And I was excited for it. I'm sad it never happened.
Yeah. The thing about Tsubasa, at least in terms of how it treats the other relationships, is they're kind of static. The relationships that you see for other characters, even within other manga, are just vaguely similar to how the relationships are established in their respective canons. They don't really actually explore anything with their relationships themselves. They just kind of present them in alternate universes. Turning Kamui and Subaru into a pair of twin vampires.
yeah,
I don't regret that choice.
I love that.
What I was going to say is similar to